This is a real place in Britain. Imagine you're alone in woods you don't recognize. No traffic, no voices, just wind in the trees. Then you see it. A World War II pillbox, abandoned, concrete, forgotten. You don't know why, but suddenly you feel it. You are not alone. And then you hear it. Whispering. Not loud enough to understand, but close enough to know it isn't the wind. People who walk here say the same thing. Something is still here. Because World War II didn't just leave ruins behind. It left air bases where young men took off and never came home. Secret sites where death was tested, measured, perfected. Places where lives ended in seconds, and where decades later something still lingers. Tonight we're exploring World War II sites where history and haunting overlap, where documented tragedy, secrecy, and loss may have left something behind. RAF Thornaby opened in 1929 and played a quiet but important role beyond serving as an aerodrome. It was used by Coastal Command for early experiments with air-to-surface vessel radar, helping aircraft detect German U-boats in darkness and poor weather. These operations contributed to a major turning point in the Battle of the Atlantic, as radar made it harder for submarines to remain hidden at night. From here, crews flew into black skies, using this early ASV radar to hunt German U-boats in darkness. They relied on signals they barely understood, to find enemies they could not see. It is not possible to provide a single, precise number on how many did not return. However, the station experienced significant losses, particularly among its maritime reconnaissance and anti-shipping strike squadrons. Decades later, a local man walks his dog through the woods near the old airfield boundary. He knows the path. He's done it for years. But tonight he notices something ahead through the trees. Concrete. The old pillbox. He didn't plan to come this way, but he does. As he gets closer, the air changes, quieter, heavier. Then he hears whispering. He stops, listens. It's coming from near the structure. He calls out, thinking someone else is there.
Hello, who's there?
The whispering stops instantly, dead silence. He steps toward the pillbox and sees movement through the trees to his left. A figure, standing still, watching him. He moves toward it, and it's gone. No footsteps, no sound, nothing. He leaves, faster than he arrived, and he doesn't walk that route after dark again. But Thornaby doesn't end in the woods, because the old RAF Canteen still stands. Now a snooker hall. Staff locking up at night report hearing footsteps cross the wooden floor behind them. One worker said a chair scraped loudly across the floor after he turned the lights off. He switched them back on. Every chair was still tucked neatly under the tables. He now refuses to close the bar alone. And several people over the years have reported hearing something else near the site late at night, near the old industrial edge of the airfield. The low, rhythmic drone of distant aircraft engines circling. Long after planes stopped flying here. Some have also claimed to see a dim, moving light crossing the ground in the early hours, as if something is still taxiing in the dark, only for it to vanish without a trace. Was this a reminder through history of the men who served our country here? Or one too many pints at the nearby Oddfellows pub? Would you go there to find out? Whilst Thornaby is small, the next place is vast, and what happened there was hidden from the public for decades. Orford Ness, a shingle spit off the Suffolk coast, used for secret weapons testing from the First World War to the Cold War. Here, Britain refined the highly secretive oboe radio navigation system. This allowed bombers to hit targets they could not see, with remarkable accuracy through cloud cover or at night. by following precise radio signals from the ground. But Orford Ness was also dangerous. These systems were trialled and calibrated there before being deployed on major bombing raids over occupied Europe, meaning this remote shingle spit quietly helped transform aerial warfare by making precision bombing possible even when pilots couldn't see their targets. Secrecy, explosives testing, experimental radar, hazardous conditions. Historical records confirm people died here. This was a place of isolation, explosives, sickness, and unforgiving natural conditions, accidents during testing, an influenza outbreak among isolated personnel, and others lost to the violent sea surrounding the site. But many records are missing. Redacted, powerful and dangerous experiments were carried out in isolation, with very little officially said about what may have gone wrong, which is where the stories begin. A National Trust worker walks the long path across the shingle at dusk to lock up. No one else is on the Ness. The wind is constant. Halfway across, he hears something that doesn't belong. Voices, faint, crackling, like radio chatter. He stops walking, listens. The sound is coming from ahead. He walks toward it, expecting to find someone with equipment. The voices stop, immediately. He stands there in silence, then hears it again. Behind him he turns, nothing there but empty shingle stretching for miles. No buildings, no people, just wind. He later says the strangest part wasn't the sound. It was the feeling that the place didn't want him there after dark, like something unfinished was still happening. And this is a common occurrence here. Visitors rarely report seeing ghosts. What they report is worse, a crushing silence. One visitor described walking between abandoned laboratories when all sound disappeared. No birds, no wind, just a heavy stillness. They heard what sounded like metal scraping inside a sealed building. Another said they felt overwhelming panic near one structure and had to leave immediately. Many people say the same thing after visiting. It doesn't feel abandoned. It feels occupied. A place where explosives were tested, where illness spread in isolation, where the sea claimed lives. The atmosphere feels saturated with the past, but even Orford Ness is nothing compared to the final location. Because at East Kirkby, death came suddenly, violently, on the ground. RAF East Kirkby was a bomber command station during World War II. Lancaster bombers departed from here on night bombing missions over Europe, knowing many would not return. What many people today often don't realize is just how perilous it was for those based here. And the odds of survival for crews taking off from here carried roughly a 1 in 4 chance, even far beyond enemy action, meaning many airmen never made it back to their loved ones. Some aircraft crashed on takeoff, others during training exercises, and many crews were lost in combat. On the 17th of April 1945, a fully armed bomb fell during loading and detonated. The explosion killed 3 airmen instantly, injured many others, destroyed aircraft, and damaged buildings. The blast was heard for miles. Today, the airfield operates as a museum, the Lincolnshire Aviation Heritage Centre, preserving its wartime structures and aircraft. And this is where some of the most persistent alleged encounters are reported. A volunteer engineer works alone, inside one of the hangars, late in the afternoon. Quiet, tools laid out, focused work. He suddenly feels a hard shove between his shoulder blades, strong enough that he stumbles forward and drops what he is holding. He spins around, no one is there. He checks the hangar, empty. Months later, another volunteer reports the same thing, same hangar, same spot. Visitors and staff have also described seeing a man near the control tower, standing still, watching the runway. He is missing one arm. He never moves, never approaches. People see him for only a moment. Then he is gone. In other parts of the base, a volunteer described smelling engine oil and exhaust fumes in a sealed building late at night. A photographer also reported seeing 3 men standing on the runway after closing time watching him before vanishing. East Kirkby doesn't feel empty. It feels like a place where something is still waiting for orders. And as we come to the end of this journey through Thornaby, Orford, Ness, and East Kirkby. It's worth remembering that behind every shadow, every unexplained sound, and every lingering story, there was once a very real human life. These places aren't just haunted by mystery, they're shaped by history. By young men who took off into the dark and never returned. By those who waited, by those who endured. And by sacrifices made on all sides of a war that changed the world forever. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, what remains undeniable is the weight these places still carry, a quiet echo of the past that refuses to fully fade. So tonight, as we close this chapter, we remember them, not as stories, but as people. All of them, lest we forget. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe so you don't miss future History Behind the Hauntings videos, and I'd be grateful if you could also give it a like. Until next time, take care, see ya, and in a bit.